Just check that you've got those in the direction. Councillor Teresa, I see your mic is on.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the special council meeting. In view of the fact that load shedding is going to be ending at about 2 o'clock, I'm going to postpone the start of this special council meeting until 14:05 so that councillors can address any connectivity issues.
Ask councillors to put off their microphone. Good, and you?
Thank you. Maar kan iemand mij horen?
Yes, Councillor
Hallo?
Stander. Yes,
Hoor
Councillor
u?
Stander. We can
Oké,
hear you,
dank je.
Councillor Stander.
Ik wil net weten, jullie
Ja,
leven nog?
We've just postponed the start of the meeting by a few minutes because load shedding has just finished, and to sort out any connectivity problems, I think quite a few people dropped off the call as load shedding ended. So we will be starting in the next minute or two as soon as everyone's managed to rejoin. Thank you.
Thanks, Imim.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the special council meeting. The speaker is ill today. So in terms of the rules of order, should the speaker not, sorry, councillor, can you please just mute? Can we just mute the councillor, please? Thank you. In terms of the rules of order, should the speaker not be present at a meeting, an acting speaker must be elected for that meeting from the members present. So I'm going to ask now for nominations for an acting speaker for today, please. If I can have a proposer and a seconder, and then if the person who is nominated accepts the nomination, please. And if you can kindly confirm that in the chat box. So the floor is now open for nominations for an acting speaker for today, please. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, I would like to propose Councillor Jackie von Brandes as the acting speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Is there a seconder?
I will second you, Stander.
Thank you, Councillor Stander. Councillor von Brandes, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I do. Thank you,
Thank you. Are there other nominations for an acting speaker for today? Councillor Peterson.
Yes, I would like to propose Alderman Gert van Niekerk.
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
Yes, I would like to second Councillor Peterson's proposal.
Thank you, Councillor Philander. Alderman van Niekerk, do you accept the nomination?
No, I will decline the nomination.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Imrakuli, I see your hand. Councillor Imrakuli.
Yeah, I was seconding the previous councillor who was nominated, Gert.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you. So at this stage, we only have Councillor van Brandes, as Alderman van Niekerk did not accept the nomination. Councillor Lowe, Councillor Russelou.
Afternoon, everybody. I would like to nominate Councillor Jerome Peterson.
Thank you. Councillor Peterson, is there a seconder for Councillor Peterson's nomination? Is there a seconder for Councillor Peterson's nomination?
Yes,
Greetings,
I would second.
Councillor Camille.
Thank you, Councillor Camille. Councillor Peterson, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, yes, Amen.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Okay, Councillor Lowe, I still see your hand. I take it it's an old hand. Okay, can I please just ask?
Sorry, that's an old hand.
Okay, no problem. Can I please just ask that you confirm the nomination, the proposer and the seconder in the chat box for both Councillor van Brandes and for Councillor Peterson, please? I haven't yet seen anything in the chat box. If I could please just ask that both nominations with the proposed and seconded just be indicated in the chat box, please. Okay, I see we've got Councillor Lowe nominated, Councillor Peterson, Councillor Lento, and Councillor Philander seconding. And then in the chat box, we have Councillor Johnson proposing Councillor van Brandis. I don't see a seconder for Councillor van Brandis in the chat box. I see, thank you. I see Councillor Stander seconded. Okay, so we have the two nominations then. Rosemary, if I could please ask you to call each councillor's name, and then if each councillor could indicate if it's Councillor van Brandis or Councillor Peterson that they are voting for. Thank you.
Afternoon, Dr. Gratz. Good afternoon, councillors. I'll call out the names. Councillor Adams.
Von Branders.
Councillor Alexander.
Goeiemiddag, Councillor Peterson.
Councillor America.
Councillor van Branders.
Councillor Barnard.
Councillor van Brandis.
Councillor Brown.
Councillor van Brandis.
Councillor Busak.
Councillor Peterson.
Councillor Carolus.
Councillor Peterson.
Councillor Clark.
Councillor van Brandis.
Councillor Kuris. Councillor
Peterson.
Cronje. Was that Councillor Kuris? Councillor Cronje.
Councillor van Brandis.
Councillor Du Toit.
Councillor van Brandis.
Councillor Esau. Councillor Vugland, ED.
Von Branders.
Councillor RG Vugland.
Von Branders.
Councillor Frey. Councillor Gom.
Councillor Peterson.
Councillor Greef.
Councillor Peterson.
Councillor Goldie.
Von Brandis, dankie.
Councillor Hani.
Councillor Peterson.
Councillor Jantjies.
Present, Madam.
I couldn't hear. Was that Councillor Jantjies?
Von Brandis, Madam.
Thank you. Councillor Jay.
Councillor von Branders.
Councillor Johnson.
Councillor von Brandis, thank you.
Councillor Kleinans.
Councillor von Brandis.
Councillor Kritzinger. Alderman Kritzinger, sorry.
Good afternoon, Ms. Bredenkamp. Councillor von Brandis.
Councillor Kruger.
Good afternoon, Councillor von Brandis.
Councillor Lento.
Good afternoon, Peterson.
Councillor Losi, Councillor Lau,
Councillor Peterson,
Councillor Mankele,
Good afternoon, Peterson.
Councillor Mbete,
Afternoon, Marose, Councillor Van Brandes.
Councillor Etim Jaka,
Afternoon, Councillor Peterson is the way.
Councillor F. Ndaka,
She's absent.
thank you. Councillor Mrukuli,
Councillor Peterson.
Hello?
Councillor Nameli.
Hello? Hello?
What is going on here?
Good afternoon, colleagues. Councillor Peterson Marose.
Thank you. Councillor Nietlen,
Hello, Marose?
Van Brandes.
Hello, Marose?
Councillor, could you please just mute yourself? Thank
You are
you.
late. Don't say Marose.
Councillor Niaus,
Councillor Van Brandes.
Councillor Ndondini,
Speaker Peterson.
Councillor Peterson,
Obviously for myself.
Councillor
Sorry, Marose, my
Philander,
chat box is not working. Sorry, Marose, my chat box is not working.
Sorry for chat boxes, it's late.
Councillor Philander,
I'm vote.
Councillor Peterson.
Councillor Katana,
Councillor Von Brandes.
Councillor Kampe,
President Marose, thank you.
I couldn't hear. Councillor
President
Kampe,
Marose. President Marose, do you hear me?
we are in a voting process, sir.
Oh, for the
Councillor-
speaker.
Yes,
It was Peterson and who?
thank you. Councillor Rooser,
Good afternoon, Von Brandes.
Councillor Cyphers,
Von Brandes.
Councillor Summers,
Von Brandes.
Councillor Smart,
Councillor Peterson.
Councillor Snyman is absent. Councillor Standard,
Von Brandes.
Councillor Toto,
Peterson.
Alderman Van Niekerk,
Van Brandes.
Alderman Van Wyk,
Van Brandes, thank you.
Councillor Von Brandes,
Von Brandes, thank you.
Councillor R. Foster,
Peterson, Councillor Peterson.
Councillor S. Foster,
Good afternoon, Councillor Peterson.
Councillor Wessels,
Councillor Von Brandes.
Councillor Windwy,
Councillor Von Brandes.
thank you, Emil.
Thank you very much, Rosemary. If you could just tally the votes, please.
Liefie, gaan jy nie jou laptop oopmaak vandag hè?
Someone mic is on.
Myne.
May I proceed, MM?
Thank you, Rosemary.
I've counted 21 votes for Councillor Peterson and 29 for Councillor von Brandes. And then I've got 3 abstentions. Thank you.
Rosemary, would you mind counting again? Because that is different to the tally which I have. I see Councillor Nkamile's hand. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Emma. No, I was going to say the same because it's 27-21.
Okay, Rosemary, I see what happened here was that we had counted 30, but it was a vote in the chat box, which we're not going to permit. So you are correct in 29 for Councillor van Brandis, 21 for Councillor Peterson. So Councillor van Brandis, you're duly then elected as acting speaker for this council meeting. Over to you, Councillor van Brandis. Thank you.
Thank you very much, MM. We will start the meeting in a proper way. Can I please ask Councillor Melvin Roelofse if you will open for us with a prayer? Thank you very much, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everybody. Let's bow our head. Father God, as we enter into your presence, Father, Lord, we acknowledge you as Lord of all, Father. Lord, we commit this meeting to you this afternoon, Father God. Lord, we pray this afternoon for all our councillors, Father God, our administration staff, and our communities, Father God. Lord, we ask for your guidance, we ask for your wisdom, and we ask, Father God, for direction, Father. As the decisions that we make today, Father God, will impact our communities. We ask, Father, that your right hand be over our communities to protect our communities, Father. Bless this meeting today, Father God, and every person here. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you very much, Councillor Roelofse. Truly appreciate it. We then go over to 1.2, applications for leave of absence. Chief Whip, can you indicate, is there any application for leave of absence from the councillors?
Thank you, Chairperson. As we heard, the Speaker, Councillor Snyman, is on sick leave, and I received a message via Councillor Eso to indicate that Councillor Faith Ndaka is ill. She won't be joining us. Those are the 2 that I've received. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief Whip. We will then go over to the MM. Is there any applications from leave from the administration?
Speaker, no, there are none, no applications for leave of absence. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We move on to point 2, disclosure of interest by councillors and disclosure of benefits by municipal staff members. Is there anything anybody want to disclose? Please put up your hand at this time. I see there's one hand. The hand is from Daniel Greef. You can go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to declare my interest in the late item 4.7.
Thank you very much. It is so noted, your interest in that item. We will then move over to point 3, discretions of the speaker. I just firstly want to thank the councillors for electing me today as acting speaker. I will do my best today to do the seat justice. I'm not here to change any rules or the way the speaker normally conducts his meetings, so it will stay as it is in his normal practice. Thank you, councillors. I will have our speaker in my thoughts for a speedy recovery. I want to welcome Councillor Foster from the PA to his first council meeting. Congratulations, councillor, and welcome to the George Municipality Council. I will give over to the Executive Mayor an opportunity to talk to us regarding the SALGO working groups. Please go ahead, Executive Mayor.
Thanks very much, Speaker, and congratulations and best wishes on conducting this council meeting. Thank you. What we just need to do is we need to update our official representatives and secundai, as well as municipal officials for the SALGO governance structures, in other words, the various working groups that we attend, and we have a number of SALGO meetings that are shortly going to be held. So at the Electricity and Energy and Public Works Working Group, on the municipal officials, Mr. Bongani Mandla is being replaced by Mr. Jacobus Wilken. At Water and Sanitation's Working Group, among the secundai, Councillor Jacqueline van Brandes is being replaced by Councillor Gideon Johan Stander. At the Human Settlements and Urban Agenda Working Group, the official representative, Councillor Dirk Wessels, is being replaced by Councillor Jacqueline van Brandes. Among the secundai, Alderman Basil Petrus is being replaced by Councillor Dirk Wessels. At the Emergency Services and Disaster Management Working Group, the official representative, Councillor Charlotte Clark, is being replaced by Councillor Maria Kruger. At Municipal Digital Solutions Working Group, the municipal official, Mr. Stefan Janse van Vieren, is being replaced by Bevan Elman. At Public Transport and Roads Working Group, the official representative, Councillor Jacqueline van Brandes, is being replaced by Councillor Gideon Johan Stander. At the Environmental Management and Climate Resilience Working Group, the official representative, Councillor Jean Seifers, is being replaced by Councillor Teresa J. So those are the changes for the SALGO working groups that I've now read into the record, and I'll duly sign the page and submit that to administration. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Executive Mayor. That is then all on point number 3. We then move over to point number 4. We go to the speakers list. As our speaker on point 4.3, 4.5 and 4.6, I will just ask the Chief Whip to put in alternative speakers. Thank you, Chief Whip. We then move over to 4.1. And it is the tabling of the adjustments to the 2023, 2024, 2025, 26 medium-term revenue and expenditure framework. I'm going to ask our Executive Mayor, Alderman Leon van Wyk, to table this for us. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Speaker. Yes, this is the time once again for the adjustments budget that normally gets tabled in February, so that can deal with various adjustments that we need to make to our budgets, both our capital and operating budget, to carry us through for the rest of this financial year. Now, this process is being conducted in terms of Section 28 of the MFMA, along with the budget reporting regulations being Section 23 in that regard. And I think Council will be well aware of the economic and financial circumstances facing the country at present and how that impacts directly to municipalities. We are also living in a period of load shedding where Eskom is unable to supply sufficient electricity to the country, and we continue to suffer under that adverse situation where it has a direct impact on municipal revenue as well as the costs then that flow through in terms of maintenance. We also have the additional cost of overtime, the costs of diesel, and the costs of vandalism that takes place in the midst of load shedding. So all of these have an impact on our budget, and we once again need to look and see how we make those adjustments. Council will also be aware of the national budget for the next financial year, which was tabled in the National Assembly on this Wednesday afternoon past. And accordingly, that budget will also have a negative impact on local government and municipalities. And the DORA, the Division of Revenue Act Gazette, has been published, and according to that, we will be receiving less than our anticipated amount in relation to the equitable share grant for the coming financial year. So that figure goes down by 5 odd million, and in the next financial year it will go down by 11 odd million, in total something like 17 million rand. Various other of our grants will also be impacted negatively as a result of the budget. However, towards the end of last year, the budget policy statement indicated that there would also be certain cutbacks that would be taking place. So this is impacting us on our budget. What we have taken as a definite philosophy at present is to make sure that we are covered, is that we try and spend our grants as fast as possible in terms of the capital budget, so that we are not negatively influenced by any grants that might be withdrawn. As a result of that, we have adjusted our capital budget downwards by 154 million rand. And what the impact of that will be is to make sure that we are able to complete projects that are funded by grants, and therefore postponing any capital expenditure that we possibly can, that would be funded firstly from own resources and secondly from debt funding. So the combination of those two would make up the bulk of the decline in 154 million. We've also needed to look at our operating budget and work through the various shortfalls that we would be experiencing there. And at the same time, as indicated at the beginning of my speech, there are a number of areas where we are forced to spend additional expenditure due to either cost increases or the circumstances that we are facing. This includes the chemicals that are needed in the water treatment and wastewater treatment that need to be undertaken. And this is, for instance, an amount of 15 million that needs to be spent. So ultimately, the operating budget has been examined virtually on a line-by-line basis to see where one could cut back on such expenditure. included in that exercise was an examination of employment that needs to be undertaken. In other words, the on salary budget, where we've examined quite closely which positions could be filled before the end of the financial year, and the savings from those amounts have also been used to balance the budget for this coming financial year. So naturally, the effect thereof is that we have had to tighten our belts for the next period of time. I would also just like to touch on the whole aspect of electricity. This morning, the municipal manager and I were invited to attend the Premier's Energy Council, which met this morning for the first time this year. And what was indicated to us that the electricity available factor, which is then illustrates the amount of energy available to the entire network, is at 51% at present, compared to 54% last year and 55% in the year before. So this indicates a worsening trend and a worsening situation as far as the electricity provision is concerned. And that certainly makes the need for us to focus a lot of our attention on electricity provision and to have a look how we can protect ourselves and mitigate the loss of electricity going forward. And these are among the factors that now need to be considered in the draft budget, which would need to be submitted next month. I accordingly am tabling the adjustment budget for this period, which then also covers the medium-term revenue and expenditure framework over the 23-24 period through to the 25-26 period. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Executive Beyer. I see there's a reason people call Councillor Smart. It's because he indicated we forgot to do the whole roll call. We are going to do it before we officially go over to the speakers list of 4.1. Rosemary, can I hand over to you?
Councillor Adams. Am I audible, Speaker?
Yes,
Rose,
Rosemary, you are.
present.
Thank you. Councillor Alexander.
Present.
Councillor America.
Present, Rose.
Councillor Barnard.
Present.
Councillor Brown.
Present.
Councillor Busak.
Present.
Councillor Carolus.
Present.
Councillor Clark.
Present.
Councillor Kuris.
Present.
Councillor Cronje.
Cronje present.
Councillor Dutoit.
Teenwoordig, Rosemary.
Councillor Esau. Councillor Edie Vigeland.
Present, and Rose.
Councillor R.G. Vigeland.
R.G. Vigeland, present.
Councillor Fry.
Chat box.
Councillor. Thank you. Councillor Gom.
Present.
Councillor Greer. Councillor Gultik.
Councillor Gultik, present. Thank you.
Councillor Hani.
I'm present.
Councillor Yankees.
Present, Madam.
Councillor Jay.
Teenwoordig, Rosemary.
Councillor Johnson.
I'm present, thank you.
Councillor Kleinarts,
Teenwoordig, Maroos.
Alderman Kritzinger,
Teenwoordig, Rosemary, dankie.
Councillor Kruger,
Good afternoon, I'm present.
Councillor Lento,
Hi, good afternoon. Councillor Lendo is present. Thank you.
Councillor Losi,
Good afternoon, Maroos. I'm present. I'm with Councillor Noni.
thank you. Councillor Lau,
Present Rosemary.
Councillor Mankele,
Good afternoon. I'm present.
Councillor Mbete,
Afternoon, Maroos again. I'm present.
Councillor Iti Mdaka,
Daka is present. Good afternoon.
Councillor Mrukuli,
Good afternoon, Solomon present.
Councillor Kamele,
Molweni Ngalenjikalanga Maroos, present.
Councillor Nietlem,
Teenwoordig.
Councillor Niaus,
Neos teenwoordig.
Councillor Ndondini,
Good afternoon. Zakaria Antonin is present.
Councillor Peterson,
Peterson present.
Councillor Philander,
Philander present.
Councillor Katana,
Councillor Katana present, Maroos, thank you.
Councillor Kampi,
Present Maroos.
Councillor Rulse,
Good afternoon, I'm present, Rose.
Councillor Cyphers,
Middag Rosemary, present.
Councillor Summers,
Summers present.
Councillor Smart,
I am present. Thank you, Rosemary.
Councillor Stander,
I'm present, Rosemary.
Councillor Toto, Alderman Van Niekerk,
Present Rosemary.
Alderman Van Wyk,
I'm present, Rosemary, thanks.
Councillor von Brandes,
Present Rosemary, thank you.
Councillor R. Forster,
Goeiemiddag, teenwoordig.
Councillor S. Forster,
Good afternoon, I'm present.
Councillor Wessels,
I'm present. Thank you.
Councillor Windwai,
Sorry, Rosemary present.
thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Rosemary. We then will go over to 4.1, the speakers on the list. And our first speaker on the list is Councillor Wessels. You have 4 minutes and you can go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, I would like to start by congratulating the municipal manager and the CFO and the whole team with the INTI visit of yesterday, which was a productive and good visit. And seemingly our municipality are doing things right. This can again be seen in the adjustment budget that has been tabled by the mayor, and taking the national circumstances, economical circumstances into account, it was imperative that certain downward adjustments be made in terms of capital. Specifically in terms of what we are taking up on loan, which is 102 million, that we are taking up less, as well as our own cash in hand, which is 41 million that is being adjusted downward. It is unfortunate that on a national scale, our national government are unable to work responsibly with money, and it is an unfortunate situation that our grants are being lessened by a total of 8.3 million. That was what we expected as per the DORA, and as thus is thus included. On the operational budget, Speaker, I think it's important to note that we have added 7 million for the refuse removal contract and 6.5 million for the dumping fees to Petrol SA, ensuring that we don't go the route of neighboring municipalities. We've recently seen on television that they are getting into absolute derelict condition. Further to that, we are ensuring that our assets are secured with 2.4 million in additional security cost, and ensuring that our pump stations are working 100% during load shedding. We were forced to add another 1.4 million for fuel and expenses. We again have taken a leaf from what not to do and have added 4 million rand to the maintenance in our pumps and in our sewage pump stations, ensuring that we keep our nature clean. Speaker, we can see that there's a significant downward trend in our electricity sales. Hence, we had to adjust our revenue downwards on electricity by 13.3 million, just over 13.3 million, and that's due to the direct effect of load shedding and people not being able to purchase electricity. Speaker, I think that covered most of the big adjustments that we've done, and ensuring that we show George citizens that we act responsibly with their money, even though the national coffers are seemingly empty. I will thus propose the adjustment budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Wessels. We will then move over to the ANC speaker, Councillor Hani. Go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Andibulise kuwe speaker nakwi-councillor zonke. Speaker, siyaqwalasela uhlahlo lwabiwo-mali, kodwa ke kunezinto ezikhwankqisayo. Umzekelo, ucivil, i-75% of ibudget kamasipala iya ku-civil, but xa ujonga uyilandelela ngasemva ayichithwa yonke imali. Apha ithemba lethu ku-Annexure A ne u-23, imali enintsi ethathwe out of ithemba lethu engachithwanga. Sifuna uqonda kule ngxaki sinayo yesuwa ehamba ezitratweni nakwi-area zonke zabantu abangathathi ntweni, like omaBorjas, Parkdean neConville. Ezi mali zingachithwayo zibe zifunyanwa ku-National Treasury zifunelwa for ukuthini xa zingachithwayo ezi mali kwibhajethi kamasipala. Nakwelaa cala lombane sine-crisis yombane, not for icala load shedding, but imibane yethu iyaqhawuka njalo, and kuwesi since kwemkumandla sinengxaki yombane kwiilokishi zethu. Ubani ufuna kulinde 2 days to 3 days. So sizama ukuthi ngoku kwibhajethi yenu kutheni ezi mali zingachithwayo. Samile.
Thank you, Councillor Hani. We will ask Ms. Apulis to do a translation for us to English, if she can please just translate to English.
Thank you, Speaker.
Sorry, Speaker. I'm still waiting for the response. I'm not finished.
Please first translate it.
Can we first just translate, because it's quite difficult to be able to respond on something I do not understand, Councillor. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. Greetings.
Yes, we as ANC, we see and we take note of the budget that is in front of us. But however, it raises our eyebrows because when you look at it, 75% of the budget goes to civil services. But when you look at it in our areas, most of our areas in Thembalethu and other areas of the poor people, these services we do not get, but there are funds that are not properly spent or they are not spent at all in our areas. So I want to know what will happen to those funds that are not spent and why is it that funds are not being spent when we are sitting with problems. We've got sewerage problems, we've got electricity problems in our areas where we have to sit and wait for 2 days for electricity to be fixed because of the problems that we have. Yes, we know that we are currently experiencing a problem of load shedding, but this adds to our problems that we are also suffering from in our locations. So we want to know why is it that this budget is not catering for our communities that are previously disadvantaged, because why is it that they are the funds that are there, they are not used up? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Apulis. We do appreciate the translation. As I said, councillors, in the beginning of the meeting, as I'm just the acting speaker, I will coordinate this meeting as the speaker normally does with his rules of Rule 14.2. It is expected of a member at least 2 days before a meeting to take inquiries to the portfolio councillor or chief whip on any matter on the agenda which is not clear or where more information is needed. Unfortunately, at this time, we are not able to answer your question, but you are more than willing to give us a formal question and then we will ask the administration to give you feedback because it's important to receive feedback. Councillor Hani, I will then give you the rest of the 2 minutes to go on with your speech. Thank you very much, Councillor Hani. You may go ahead.
Into bendifuna ukuqonda le question ndiraise kwi-council chamber ne. Why ingenakwazi ukuphenduleka into esibuzayo apha?
This is a platform where
And the question le ndiyibuza based kwi-directors, not kuwe as speaker we-council chamber.
What the councillor is actually asking, he says that he's asking this question in council meeting. So he doesn't understand that why is it that he cannot be answered in council, and because he's not asking from to the relevant people who are the directors who are able to answer. So why is it that this question cannot be answered in council?
Councillor Hani, as you are well noted with the rules of council and the rules of order, we've got certain rules, and the rule states as per 13.2 that we obviously need to ask questions in advance. So unfortunately, we will not take questions, but you are more than welcome to put any matters, orders, or anything directly like that in the chat box if you've got an objection to anything else. I see committee services has struggled with your time and the time is adjusted now. Just want to hear you at the assistance, 1 minute, 38 seconds you've got left on your time. Please go ahead.
Okay, must I carry on?
You are more than welcome to carry on.
Abantu kwi-public pha imamele ne ukuthi umasipala ukhokelwa i-DA waseGeorge akafuni uakhawunta kwizinto esizibuzayo ezingalimela nye nabahlali, because abahlali pha phandle bayasafarisha while umasipala waseGeorge olidoshiwe i-Democratic Alliance ongafuni uspenda imali kwi-area zethu.
Ms. Apulis, can you please translate to English, please?
Thank you, Councillor. I'm not sure if the councillor is finished because it sounds like it's a half question. But what he wants to say is that it seems like the municipality does not want to account by a manner of answering questions that are being asked to the relevant people in the council. It seems like George municipality does not want to spend money in our areas where else there is money to be spent.
Thank you, Ms. Paulus. You can go ahead, Councillor Hani.
No, I think I'm done now.
Thank you very much, Councillor, for your
Because you
input.
don't know-
It's truly appreciated. We then go over to the PBI. Councillor Peterson, please go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, the tabled adjustment budget refers. The PBI noticed that an exorbitant amount of 63 million was allocated by Provincial Treasury to George Municipality. This is equal to fiscal dumping, as the bulk of this allocation will be utilized for GIPTN expenses. Our question still remains, with every cent that is received late in the financial year, if the monies will be spent before the end of the financial year. This allocation will alter project management plans as well as the targets in the SDBIP. Mr. Mayor, we noticed that under capital projects adjustment, an exorbitant amount are set from the big service departments, totaling more than 154 million. This is from CRR projects and grant-funded projects. We also notice that the EFF funding is reducted by about 102 million. Did your administration not go out on loans for bridging finance for the same amount? Did the plans or the loans not work out, and do you need to adjust the budget to make up for the premature lapse in judgment? We notice over 13 million reduction in electricity service charges, with a long explanation given about cost of supply studies for electricity. We were looking for your sentence on blaming load shedding in this instance and were not disappointed. We are ever grateful that our constant pressure on the implementation of the electricity surcharge for AMPs has made you see the light as you are suspending the cost of supply study. We notice that you indicate that a number of consumers are moving to cheaper and renewable alternatives as part of your explanation. This does not, however, speak to the greater part of George's population, as the gap between the poor and the rich are too great. This only speaks to a select few whose interests are protected by your policies. Mr. Mayor, we also notice that you expect more than 75 million VAT income and grants. Does this include the indigent funding that is received but that is not allocated to indigents that do not qualify in terms of your policy? And to Mr. Dirk Wessels, there is more instances of financial misconduct in this municipality than in neighboring municipalities. I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Peterson. We then move over to Good. Councillor Lowe, please go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, die volgende befondsing nasionale regering of provinsiale regering is daar om dienslewering te verbeter en om daardie dienste te hê wat George Municipality nie kan lewer as gevolg van 'n tekort aan finansies, soos onder andere water, elektrisiteit, rioolpaaie en wysingsbuite en so voort. Dit is belangrik dat hierdie fondse gespandeer word, veral in kritiese areas soos die boor uiteengesit. Dit sal help dat arm gedeeltes of areas van nodige dienste voorsien sal word, soos wat dit nodig is. Hierdie fondse moet gespandeer word om dit te help om die ekonomiese groei van die dorp en vir werkskepping. Verder, as dit nie gespandeer word nie, kan ons dit verbeur of dit word verminder. In baie gevalle word projekte op die kapitale begroting gesit, maar dan is dit daar meer as 4 jaar op die begroting, soos byvoorbeeld die Roosmotatenbaan. Die het weer eens ons sportgemeenskap geval in die verband, spesifiek ons atlete. Op bladsy 7.3 sien ons dat verskeie projekte in 2023 boekjaar nie gaan realiseer nie en dat dit 'n negatiewe impak sal hê op dienslewering in George, veral ons arm gebiede. Speaker, dit is belangrik om te besef dat die capital adjustment budget nie daar is om dienslewering te kniehalter nie, maar om omstandighede van mense te verbeter en om daardie dienste te lewer wat die gemeenskap nie self kan lewer nie.
Councillor Lowe, your time is unfortunately up. I will need to stop you there. Thank you for that input. We then go over to the PA speaker for the day, Councillor Alexander. Before we do that, Ms. Apulis, can you please translate for us from Afrikaans to English, please?
Thank you, Speaker. Uthi balekile kakhulu ke na i-funds zokuba zispendwe, especially xa zikhutshiwe
Ms.
kwi-areas zabantu bethu.
Ms. Apulis, can I please just interrupt you there? Can you please translate to English for us? Thank you.
Do I continue, Speaker?
Sorry, Mr.
Yes, if you can just translate to English for us, please, that the speaker that spoke can
Sorry,
actually
of order,
understand
Speaker.
what is being translated and see that as a true reflection of what is said in her speech, as Councillor Lowe will need to obviously be able to give input if it was incorrectly translated. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Apuelas.
Can you translate in Xhosa, please, Speaker?
Speaker, I didn't get that because we are currently off, so I couldn't get what you were saying.
Ms. Apuelas, can you please translate Councillor Lowe's speech into English, please? That if Councillor Lowe can understand what is being said, if there's any wrong translation or anything like that. Thank you very much.
Please, Speaker.
Order, Speaker.
Translate in
Order,
Xhosa.
Speaker.
From Afrikaans, Xhosa.
No, Speaker. No. Order.
Councillors, I do see your hands raised. I can hear on the what is being said. Can we just have a translation from Ms. Paulus, please?
I'm muted. Thank you, Speaker. As ukansela has said, uthi kubalulekile kakhulu ukuba imali ekhoyo ekhutshiweyo kwi-area ikhutshwe ukwenzela uba ispendwe yonke kwiingingqi zethu abantu abangathathi ntweni. Uthi ke imali ezikhoyo aka-understand ukubana.
Ms. Paulus, can you please translate what Councillor Lowe has said into English, please, Ms. Paulus?
Acting Speaker, can you acknowledge me, please? Councillor Toto.
I just waiting for translation and then I will acknowledge you, Councillor.
Thank you.
Miss Rosemary Bredenkamp, can you maybe see what's the problem with Ms. Paulus?
I think it's time to go back to the chambers now, Miss.
Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, how can you translate Afrikaans to English to Afrikaans? But you speak the same language, Mos. The only thing that needs to be translated to Xhosa. So you can go mute. Chin. But you speak English and Afrikaans, Mos.
Councillor Nkomini, if I'm not mistaken incorrectly, you're speaking English to me at this moment.
No,
where's Miss Paulus? I will take your hands now. I just wanted to please do a translation
Speaker,
for us, please.
This is a democratic country, this one. And you can't force that another language must not be spoken here, please. We want our language also to be spoken here.
Must get a translation of Zulu because I'm speaking Zulu now as Councillor Lendo.
Unity, unity.
Ngeqambi uze nawe lo speaker.
We're just waiting for Mr. Paulus. They've seemed to say there's some technical difficulties at that time. So you are more than welcome to sing with your mics muted, Councillor. It's not a problem as long as the mic is muted. Thank you. We will be back in business in hopefully 2 to 3 minutes maximum.
Kampi, sing for us.
Good news, guys. Our technical difficulties is sorted out and we're back to business. Ms. Apolis, please go ahead.
Thank you, Speaker. Can just the latter speaker then repeat her speech so that I can be able to translate it in English then?
You know what, Ms. Apolis, I have no trouble with that whatsoever because I know Councillor Lowe wants to ensure that his speech is correctly translated. Councillor Lowe, would you be so kind to give us your speech again if it's not too much trouble?
No problem, Speaker. Bogenoemde befondsing van die nasionale regering of provinsiale regering is daar om dienslewering te verbeter en om daardie dienste te lewer wat George munisipaliteit nie kan lewer as gevolg van 'n tekort aan finansies. soos ons ander water en elektrisiteit, rioolpaaie en behuisingsprojekte. Dit is belangrik dat hierdie fondse gespandeer word, veral in kritiese areas soos hierbo uiteengesit. Dit sal help dat arm gedeeltes of areas van die nodige dienste sal voorsien sal word soos wat benodig. Hierdie fondse moet spandeer word omdat dit help om met ekonomiese groei van die dorp en werkskepping. Verder as dit nie gespandeer word nie, kan ons dit verbeter of dit verminder sal word. In baie gevalle word projekte op die kapitale begroting gesit, maar dan is dit daar vir 4 jaar en op die begroting, soos byvoorbeeld die Rosemoortatenbaan. Dit jaar weer eens ons sportgemeenskap geval in die verband spesifiek ons atlete. Op bladsy 7.3 sien ons dat verskeie projekte in die 2023-2024 boekjaar nie gaan realiseer nie en dat dit 'n negatiewe impak sal hê op dienslewering in die George area en veral in arm gebiede. Speaker, dit is belangrik om te besef dat die capital adjustment budget is nie daar om dienslewering te creëer nie, maar om die omstandighede van beter mense te verbeter en om daardie dienste te lewer wat die gemeenskap self nie kan lewer nie. Baie dankie, Speaker.
Thank you,
very
Speaker.
much, Councillor. I do
Now, the
appreciate
capital
you taking
budget
it
is
to
set
time.
aside by the provincial government to better the services of service delivery, namely water, electricity, and housing, which is set to help with service delivery in George. It is very much important to spend the money or the funds as that are allocated so that funds can be able to work towards service delivery to help the poor or the needy areas. It is very much important for them to be spent for service delivery purposes. The capital adjustment as set in 7.3, there are different projects that were set to take place in 2023-2024 adjustment budget, but it seems like they won't be able to continue because they won't be able to continue. Then that will cause problems in service delivery. That will cause problem in George at large. So that capital adjustment is meant to change the service delivery of the people and is meant to change the lives of our people so that it can be spent properly according to what it has been allocated to. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will then go over to the next speaker on the list. It's from the PA. Councillor Alexander, you've got 1 minute. Please go ahead.
Goeiemiddag, Speaker. Goeiemiddag, colleagues. Ons as die PA verneem op dat aanpassing op die kapitale begroting is. Indien wel, watter projekte word hierdie geraak? Ons verneem ook dat daar 75% van die budget aan siviel gaan en ons kan dit regtig nie sien in ons gemeenskappe soos Botsets, Cornwall, Parkdene, Timberlake, Pakkersdorp en ook omliggende gebiede. So ons kan nie sien dat hierdie budget is daar om die situasie te beantwoord, om dienslewering te doen en ons kan dit reflekteer dat wat op papier is of dit wat daar gestaan word, kan ons nie reflekteer in ons gemeenskappe nie. So die PA vra dat hulle vir ons duidelik moet sê wat die percentage, watter percentage en hoe gaan dit uitvoer, hoe gaan dit ons raak die projekte gaan geraak word. En ook daar word gebudget vir performance bonusse vir die direkteurs en die MM's. Hoe gaan dit ook dit affekteer? Dankie.
Thank you very much, Councillor Alexander.
Speaker.
Go ahead, Mr. Paulus.
Yes, the PA notes that yes, we have noted the adjustment budget. We see that there are a couple of projects that needs to go forward. 75% we see that they won't be able to proceed because we can sit and watch our areas, the needy areas, mainly your Borchers areas, your Thembaletu and Pakdene and other areas that will not benefit in this type of projects because we as the PA, we want clarification to know what are these projects going to impact or what are our communities going to benefit in such projects?
Thank you, Mr. Paulus. for the translation. I see the mayor's hand. According to the rules, the executive mayor is allowed to give any input on any item. As I do note, there has been quite a lot of questions coming from the floor, and the mayor is so kind to answer them for us today. Thank you, Executive Mayor. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Speaker. Yes, there were a number of statements that and comments that have been made. I'm going to try and deal with a number of them. So the not dealing in detail on each one of them, but I think it is worthwhile.
There's unfortunately no point of order. If you can please put it in the chat box, please, Councillor.
But why the mayor not using the chat box?
Councillor, the mayor did use the chat box. If you revert earlier, I'm literally going up until 2:58 p.m. where he said, Speaker, I would like to comment at the end prior to the reply. Thank you very much. Executive Mayor, please go ahead.
Speaker, I feel you are being a bit unfair towards us.
Executive Mayor.
Yes, okay. I've got myself unmuted now. I appear to have been muted there. Thank you, Speaker. Yes, I'm just going to try and give a broad comment on a number of the aspects. The capital budget that we have before us and the adjustments that are being made.
Speaker, we are not in a... This cannot be done.
Okay. Councillors, if you will look to the rules of order, you will see at the discretion of the Speaker at a time, it is allowed the mayor or relevant member of the mayoral committee or relevant committee or the mover of a motion to conclude the debate on an item debated. As you will relate, you had a lot of questions, so the mayor is actually doing us a favor to give us a bit of clarity before the item is over. That is what is in the rules of order, and that is what I'm following today. Thank you, Councillors. Executive Mayor, please go ahead.
Sorry, Speaker. Why are you treating us like this?
Okay, I can go ahead now, Speaker. Okay. I think if we can just reflect on the capital budget. The capital budget consists of something like 150 different projects that are being undertaken. Included within those projects are projects under the BFI or the RBIG, which is the Regional Bulk Infrastructure Grant. Now, those projects are being undertaken for the benefit of the Greater George, particularly in relation to water infrastructure and wastewater infrastructure. Now, in terms of the water infrastructure, other than the water treatment works that are being expanded to provide additional capacity and therefore to provide sufficient water that is then distributed throughout the entire George, there is also further work that has been undertaken where there'll be 2 additional reservoirs are being built in Thembalethu, another 2 in Pacaltsdorp, by way of example. What we are also undertaking there is the total refurbishment of our 3 largest wastewater treatment plants. So in other words, those are the sewage plants that, not the sewage plant, the sewage pump stations that need to transport the sewage to our sewage treatment plants. Now, those particular pump stations are the Eden, the Meal, and the Skarpkop pump station. So 180 million rand is being spent on their refurbishment. Councillors will also be aware that we had completed early last year, we completed a whole expansion plant and refurbishment of the Outeniqua wastewater treatment plant that had been expanded and refurbished. We are currently busy with similar work that has been undertaken at the Fyne wastewater treatment plant. So those cover both the east and the west areas of George, and therefore all of our living areas and the entire George therefore gets improved by that. So that is the work that has been undertaken. We, in Thembalethu, I think, as well as in Pacaltsdorp, councillors will also recall that there's a lot of work that's been done on stormwater and on roads in Thembalethu. In Thembalethu, we are also busy with the upgrading of the very big substation down at the end of the Nelson Mandela Boulevard, which will strengthen the level of electricity capacity going into Thembalethu. I think if a number of the comments were made early on about improvements and service delivery issues within, for instance, Thembalethu. Now, those items get dealt with under the operating budget. And there it's of critical importance that councillors make sure that they report those service delivery issues or the breakages that take place in pipes. Now, I was made aware of directly from members of the community in Thembalethu of, for instance, electricity and water issues during the course of this week, that and queries then on the work, the remedial work that needs to be undertaken. So those items are receiving attention, and every time that a councillor reports it, it will go, it will then be repaired, and we'll be undertaking that work. There was also comment on the Tartan track. Now, the Tartan track has been a sore issue for a number of years, and one of the major holdups in that Tartan track has been the school governing body of one of the schools that are joining the Tartan track, where the school governing body then was preventing the work and the completion on that Tartan track. And the reality of that was that we needed to get additional land to complete that track. And through that school governing body, in effect, preventing it to take place, that is the negative effect that we've had on our entire community, that we're not able to complete it. When grants are directed to George Municipality or we receive additional grants, we always accept them, because it will be foolhardy not to accept grants that are given to you by national government or by provincial government. I don't believe there will be any municipality in the country that would say no to a grant that is coming to a community. So I think councillors should just take note of that. Then I think there was also a comment on loan funding. What we try and manage on an ongoing basis is that we do not take up too many loans. So therefore, we will, during the year, if we are able to fund the capital project and bridge that through our own funding, in the meantime, we will do that until we get to a stage where we know exactly how much money we then need to take up by way of a loan, so that that loan can then replenish our own cash funding. So it is an ongoing management of cash flow that we are undertaking, and therefore we try and make sure that we balance out how we the funding that we use to undertake capital projects. So therefore we, in preference, we want to finish the grant funded project first, and also then to have a look how do we conserve our cash, that we don't use too much of our cash on capital projects, and where possible that we can make use of loan funding. I hope that that provides a broader perspective of the work that we are undertaking. But it's also clear, Speaker, that we probably need to undergo some information session to expand a little bit more to councillors on our whole budget process. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Alderman Leon van Wyk. We then move over to our last speaker, Councillor R. Vigland. Please go ahead.
Speaker, thank you. I second the proposal made by
Okay.
Councillor Wessels.
Thank you, Councillor Vigland. I saw the hands and I see in the chat box, I did give my ruling in the chat box, and that's all I'm going to say at this stage.
Speaker, the DA is allowed to rebuttal on things.
Thank you very much. The report carries. We then go over to 4.2. It's the tabling of the revised top layer, service delivery and budget implementation plan, SDPIP, and the executive mayor, Alderman Leon van Wyk, will table that for us. Mayor, please go ahead.
Thank you, Speaker. Yes, this item is also an item that regularly appears on our agenda at this stage during the adjustment budget. And this then provides us the opportunity to revise and to have another look at our top-level service delivery and budget implementation plan, the so-called SDBIB, which in this case is for this financial year, 23-24. Now, as we go through the year, or as we prepare for a year, there are certain key performance areas that we look at, as well as key performance indicators that we allocate to each directorate, and in effect then to each director in terms to achieve the objectives that we want to achieve within that service delivery plan. So these KPIs, as they are known, are then set every year, and they are set to achieve certain objectives. In certain cases, they are able to be achieved on a monthly or on a half-yearly basis, and in other cases, we can only really pay attention that they have been achieved by the end of the year. And then at the half-year stage, we are then given that opportunity to have a look and see what the reality has been and whether there are particular circumstances that have taken place in which those adjustments need to be undertaken. So that adjustment is now before us, and no doubt my colleagues and Councillor Wessels will then also just elaborate further on the item that is before us for approval today. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Mayor. We then move over to the first speaker on the list of the coalition, Councillor Wessels. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Speaker. You're correctly, as stated by the Mayor, this item is to request Council to approve the revised top-level service delivery and budget implementation plan for 23-24, also known as the SDBIB. I think it's important to note that the operating and the capital budget provisions is as per the approved revised budget that has just been done for 23-24. Departments were requested to redraft their priorities indicators and targets in line with their operational realities and as well within the budgetary limitations. I want to congratulate the municipal manager and all the staff for the amazing work that they are doing and continue to do, and that we align our priorities with the needs of the communities out there. So yes, the Annexure A speaks to the revised SDPIB, and I would thus like to propose that it be accepted by Council. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Wessels. Councillor Philander, I did see your comment now here in the chat box, and there was a reply from administrational assistants. We do note that Councillor Lowe did stated that there was a bit of an incorrection on her speech. What I will do is, if there's another translation, I will give the speaker the opportunity to indicate it was correct before we move on. Thank you for understanding, as this is not my permanent gig, as I'm just a sub for today. We then move over to the ANC. Councillor Hani, please go ahead.
Khona Speaker. Kwiveke epheleleyo besibizelwe sonke apha si-councillors seDoche kunye nee-ward committees ezasithatha through kule draft ye-revised top layer of service delivery. Khange yenzeke ke loo nto. Naw ke ngoku apha kuthiwa masithethe based on kwinto khange singene kuye siyiqwalasele ukuthi ihambe njani icala le-service delivery kwii-area zethu. Kodwa ke singumbutho wesizwe thina siyayinowutha kwalo mzuzu lena sawuva kwilantika kwilanto kwi-auditing ukuthi yonke into ihambe njani, ngaba i-service delivery ihambe ngohlobo efanele ihambele ngalo na. Enkosi.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hani. Ms. Apolis.
Thank you, Speaker. Councillor says last week we were called to a meeting with ward committees, but unfortunately the meeting did not take part. So we did not get to discuss the level of service delivery of the budget of implementation, but now we are expected today to deliver our views or our opinion on it, which we are unable to do that because we're expecting to talk about it last week, but it did not take place. However, as a national party, we take note and we are waiting to hear from the auditors as to what is the outcome of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Apolis. We then move over to the next speaker on the list, the PBI. Councillor Peterson, please go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, the revised top layer in the SD-BIP refers. The original report was approved by the Mayor in June 2023 for implementation. Our question today is, was everything taken into account when the report was approved? Surely you could have seen and noticed that some of these targets will not be reached and could have adjusted them accordingly. Now we are faced with a report. We again must help you to rectify your mistakes. It seems that the targets were set too steep, hence the turnaround with the adjustment budget and targets set for the and directors. This all happens while service delivery is taking a backseat. Mr. Mayor, is it true that service delivery is delayed or even withheld in wards where the DA is not in control? This is evident when we roam the streets in different wards where the DA is not in control. How will the service delivery issues affect the performance of directors, especially in the service departments? Mr. Mayor, the citizens are crying for service delivery, and this is evident in social media and where by-elections are contested. We hope that service delivery will be done equitably for the whole of George and not only where the DA is in control. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Peterson. We then move over to the EFF. Councillor Nkamile, please go ahead.
Point of order, Speaker.
Councillor, I do see your hand. As you know, points of orders needs to be put into the chat box. Councillor Nkamile, please go ahead.
Chat box, but we're moving on. The last council meeting, it was the same. The translator was wrong, and you just move on. Can you please respond?
I did respond, Councillor. If you can remember, just before Councillor Hani spoke, I did say, Councillor, I'm truly sorry. Unfortunately, I'm not the translator, but what we will do, if we've got an Afrikaans translator again from your party, I will ensure that you've got the opportunity to say it was correct or incorrect before we move on to accommodate all parties. Thank you very much, Councillor. We will then move over to Councillor Nkamile.
Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Speaker. I won't dwell much on what have been said by the previous speakers, my colleagues, based on a service delivery and budget implementation plan. Speaker, we mustn't play with words and come with the revised top level of service delivery. When we talk of service delivery, we must know and try to correct the injustices that were done by your predecessors in the previous term. We know and understand that especially our colored areas and black areas that were left behind in terms of service delivery. We cannot talk of key performance indicators when we know the injustice where they are in our communities. We cannot have a situation whereby the budget is still favoring the well-developed areas than those who were not developed at all in the previous years. So our budget it's
Sorry, Councillor, your time has unfortunately run out. We then move over to the last speaker on the list, Councillor Fry. Please go ahead.
Baie dankie speaker. Speaker, ek gaan my moedertaal praat. Baie dankie speaker vir die geleentheid. Baie dankie aan die administrasie vir die item, die eerste verduideliking. Speaker, is baie duidelik dat George word ontwikkel deur deursigtige beplanning van die koalisie, regering, die munisipaliteit en amptenary en die projekte word uitgerol. Speaker, is skandalig vandag om te luister dat mense sê dat George word nie ontwikkel nie. Kyk net die vragmotors wat inkom met boumateriaal. Speaker, as ons kyk na die groot keizerkrane, as ons kyk in like Thembaleto is 'n chaos was mense werk, dus dit ontwikkel word in Thembaleto. Ons almal ervaar die druk op die paaie van Thembaleto as gevolg van die werk aan paaie. Speaker, so daardeur sê speaker dat ek sekundeer die voorstel wat my kollega Raadslid Wessels gemaak het. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Ms. Apolis.
Thank you, Speaker. It's actually coming as a surprise to hear today that there is actually no service delivery that is happening in George, because actually when you look at the development in George at large, in Thembaleto and other towns or locations, there's actually a lot of development that is actually happening in George when it comes to service delivery. So with those words, I would like to second the recommendations made by my colleague Wessels. Thank you.
Listen to respond, Councillor Fry.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fry. Councillor, you are more than welcome to phone Justin Fry and have a conversation in depth with him. We then move, this report carries, we then move over to 4.3. In principle, approval to lease ERF 2211 and portion of ERF 2210. Dialora to the Development Bank of South Africa to be utilized for future community development program. I was the speaker on this, but it is moving over to Alderman Leon van Wyk. He has 3 minutes. Mayor, please go ahead.
Thank you, Speaker. Yes, it's indeed a privilege to be able to propose this item. George is also in particular, Thembaleto is in a very privileged position to be honoured like this by the Development Bank, where the Development Bank, along with Amandla Kulucha, are undertaking a flagship project here in Thembaleto to promote economic development. We are one of the 9 pilot sites in the country where such a project is being undertaken, and the Development Bank intends to spend 60 million rand approximately on the development. On one aspect, there is a sports field, and then they are also wanting to make use of the old clinic building that will then be revamped and repurposed for the purposes of training in the BPO space, so the business processing outsourcing space, where that will then enable citizens to be acquire the necessary skills to enter this BPO market, which is also the contact center space that is proliferating throughout Cape Town. And no doubt George is then also being targeted as one of the areas that will provide a lot of employment in this area. And to be able to achieve that, what we will then be doing in terms of this proposal is that we are making, by way of a lease agreement process, these two urban 2210 and 2211, making that available on a 20-year lease to the development, the bank, to be able to undertake this whole development that they are proposing. So I accordingly propose the recommendations. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Alderman van Wyk. We then move over to the ANC. Councillor Lento, you've got 2 minutes. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Speaker. Lendo is not going to speak. It's me, Toto, that's going to speak. Can I continue?
You are more than welcome, Councillor. Continue.
Oh, thanks. Firstly, one must welcome the opportunity to be able to table a comment on this item. I first want just to take it from the mayor's mouth when he was mentioning the fact that there's going to be a BPO in the said or mentioned premises. I know this is not part of this item. However, I think this is a favorable opportunity, Mayor, to inform you that in one of your opening or mayoral speeches that you have made in this council, I cannot recall the date, when you were welcoming one of the opportunities of employment that are brought in by a certain BPO that have employed in hundreds of young people in our town. I want us this time around, because now tables have turned. They turn over in terms of staff that is leaving that BPO. It's really raising our eyebrows. And the fact that the same BPO have started laying off in terms of retrenchment of the same young people that we have boasted about that they are appointed or employed by it. Now, let me go into this one and say that we support this item because of what is going to do in our area, for the history of the building that is standing for a very long time, that has been good to us. Now it's coming back again. It's going to do something positive in our location. Even the willingness by this administration to assist Amandla in bringing these DLABs, with those words to say that we support this item. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Toto, for supporting the item and obviously your words in regards to this. We will then move over to the EFF Councillor, Councillor Kampi. You've got 1 minute. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, we as the EFF, we are not against the support of this item because it is out for the good of our community. Even though we know that the DA people have a giraffe view over all this, because all of a sudden now you ought to bring all these good things in a good platter, because of you all know that we are all looking forward to 29 May. So it's fine, and we do know good you do have some words there in Timberland that people are voting for you, of which we know that this is a way of tackling all the way, but we are in support of the item for the sake of our people, because they know nothing but they have to feed their own children and put food on the table. So if it's all to bring that for them, then we don't stand on the way of the poor of the poorest. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kampi, and of course for supporting this item. We then go over to the last speaker on this item, that is Councillor Mbete. You got 2 minutes. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, the IHAP has been successfully running for 3 years in that space. So this is just a renewal on the list, basically. So the fact that it will assist with digital support to entrepreneurs to grow their business, I will support the recommendation made by my colleague. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Pete, for recommending supporting the recommendation. We then move over to 4.4. It is Touwsranten court eviction, provision of haven to persons residing in backyards in Touwsranten. Our first speaker on the list is from the coalition. It is Councillor Suffers. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Speaker. If Councillor can remember, in August 2022, over 100 households were evicted from a property in Touwsranten in terms of a court order. In early 2023, a few persons re-invaded the property. The municipality went back to a court to enforce the court order. In response to the 14 persons who invaded got legal representation, the magistrate has indicated in court that she intends to order the municipality to find alternative housing for the 14 respondents, even though they are illegally occupying a property from which they were evicted previously. In anticipation of this order, the administration met with the informal settlement committee, the ward councillor and the ward committees, and briefed them on the proposed area to be utilized to accommodate these 14 families being evicted. Because the area can accommodate more people, the agreement was that the remaining 16 sites will be used for households on the waiting list. The ward councillor and the members of the ward committee expressed their support for the plan, as well as the plan to accommodate persons residing in backyards on the remaining portions of the land. The urban will be subdivided and 5 families will be accommodated on the earth. Each earth will be having 1 flush toilet and a tap provided. The illegal occupiers will be required to remove their structures and re-establish themselves on the sites identified. Therefore, approval is required to allocate subdivided urban to the 14 illegal occupiers as per the anticipated court order, as well as the most deserving beneficiaries residing in Touwsranten who is the longest on the waiting list and registered as backyarders. The recommendation is on page 208, Speaker. Therefore, I proposed. Speaker, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Suffers. We now move over to the ANC speaker, Councillor Eso. You have 2 minutes. Please go ahead. Councillor Eso, I see there's a hand up from our Chief Whip. Chief Whip, please go ahead.
Chairperson, I've just been told that they are battling with load shedding in Uniondale and Harlem. So I'm not too sure whether Councillor Eso is going to be able to speak. You may need to just check with Councillor Ntondini, who's the acting whip for the ANC today.
Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes. Go ahead, Councillor. That's 100%. You can go ahead.
Okay. Manbuli says, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, ANC, uphuhliso olunceda abantu bakuthi siyaluvuyela, but eyona nto siyifunayo ingaske umasipala lo we-DA phambi koba aphuhlise abantu aqala enze uqwalaselo olungamandla, averifye ngokuqinisekileyo ngoba ngokophando lwethu thina kulaa ngingqi yaseUkville sifumana amanani lana wafumanayo ingathi aphantsi kakhulu. Asiyazi ke noba ayizuphinde ibuye ibe ingxaki na apho. Ndiyeva ke uCouncillor Seferi xa icacisa ukuthi bakhona abakufuneke bona bezakhele ngokwabo xa bemuvisa aba basuke kuBhekyadas. Kule ntlupheko ingaka ke abantu bakuthi kungekho misebenzi. Ndijonga loo nto ukuthi ingaba bona bazawuzenzela ngemali abayithatha, because umasipala wethu unayo le ngxaki yosokolisa xa kufuneka kwenziwe i-development kwezi ndawo zethu. Kuthiwe abantu mabazimuvele ngokwabo ekubeni kungekho misebenzi, imali ingekho kubantu bakuthi bese behlupheka. But uphuhliso olu siyavuya ide yenzeke into phaa kulaa Ukville because abantu baphaa kudala besokola. Sasike saya phaa sifika abantu bethu etya esigangeni bengenandawo zokuhlala betyhalwe kakubi. Ndiyabulela Speaker, but ndicela ukuthi umasipala makazame uyiqwalasela siyi-ANC, siyafuna bayiqwalasele laa nto yala development before baqhubekeke benze i-verification ethara, yes, ezaba proper kubantu bakuthi. Enkosi kakhulu.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mkele. We are going to ask Ms. Apolis for translation.
Thank you, Speaker. As the ANC, we are very grateful and we are very happy for the development regarding our people, especially if it's going to help our poor people, then we are very much grateful for that. But however, the municipality needs to make sure or verify certain information before they come with numbers, because according to our investigation, we went there and we saw that the number that is actually given here is not the number of the people that we saw there that also need to be helped. Because I hear that there are also people who built for themselves, and with this unemployment, with the poverty, the people who are struggling now, can those cases be looked at? Please do your proper verification before you can be able to come with incorrect statistics, because we went there and we saw the people living in unpleasant conditions, but we do support the development because it is going to help our people. But please make sure that you verify first before you come. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Apolis. We move over to the Good Party. Councillor Foster, please go ahead. 1 minute on the clock.
Goeiemiddag. Klausuranten Court Eviction. Die voorsiening van die grond aan deernis en arm persone is belangrike kwessie wat aangespreek moet word deur die raad. Die raad moet 'n besluit neem om grond te identifiseer wat kan dien as deurgangskamp en kwesbare te help wanneer hulle self in soortgelyke gevalle kan help. Baie arm huishoudings sit vandag op straat sonder enige inkomste as gevolg van soortgelyke uitsettings deur 'n hof of landlord. In die meeste gevalle is hierdie gesinne of persone meer as 25 jaar op die behuising waglys. Die behuisingafdeling is bewus van hierdie gevalle, soos gelyke getalle in Touwsranten. Mense beset grond en okkupeer dit nie uit moedswilligheid, maar as gevolg van die behuisingsnood. En die feit dat hulle reeds jare op behuising waglys is, en dat die provinsiale regering en George Stadraad onder leiding van DA en Vryheidsfront koalisie gedurig deur die kriteria van behuising verander. As goed sal ons.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. Your time was unfortunately up with that one. Ms. Apolis, can you please translate for us to English?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The land problem that is actually happening in Touwsranten, yes, we do know that our people are sitting with the problem of land, and land is a very important issue that we need to be looked at by the council that is actually being appointed by the people, because most people are in streets not because they want, but because of the circumstances of being evicted. Under these circumstances, they find themselves homeless because of such. Most people, they do not They do not possess illegal land because they want to, but because of the difficult circumstances that they find themselves in, so they tend to take land illegally. Because you find out most of the people, they are maybe occupying the land for plus minus 25 years. And then there has to be a criteria that makes them to qualify. Now, because of the DA-led municipalities, that changes the policies that make people not to qualify. And some of the reasons could be that people are on the waiting list for more than lots of years. So that those are the things that contribute to people being possessing possessing the land illegally. So these are the issues that needs to be looked at.
Thank you, Ms. Apulis. Councillor Foster, I did say I would give you the opportunity. Is there been a paragraph left out in your speech, or are you happy with the translation, Councillor?
Gaan maar Speaker, dankie.
Thank you very much, Councillor Foster. We will then move over to the EFF. Councillor Nkamile, please go ahead. You've got 1 minute on the clock.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We as EFF, we are totally against the item, and we have stated from the beginning that as our first non-negotiable cardinal appeal, expropriation of land without compensation for equitable redistribution. So the issue of Tosranten, it's very complex, and it have cost our municipality millions for evicting people, because you must remember there were rent ends that were hired. So it have cost our municipality, meaning that it was the wasteful expenditure for our municipality. And we believe that someone must be held accountable for such conduct. As now these people who are being mentioned, which it's totally a lie. They were not 14. We know that it's more than 100 people, meaning that those more than 100 people are supposed to be reinstated in that particular land. We are putting a counter proposal with regard to the conditions put by the...
Councillor, your time is unfortunately up on the clock, but I did hear you mention a counter proposal. And obviously I couldn't get that out. So if you can maybe please indicate in the chat box, what is your counter proposal? And do you have a second rule for that? I will so long give the next speaker on the list the opportunity to speak. Councillor Alexander, please go ahead from the PA.
Goeiemiddag Speaker, goeiemiddag comrades, collega's. Die PA vra net dat die George munisipaliteit verantwoordelikheid moet vat en ons arm gemeenskap, die gemeenskap wat nou hulle structures moet afbreek. Hulle moet dit afbreek en dan self deur 'n hofbevel dat hulle self hulle structures moet afbreek en weer heropbou. Ons sit in 'n tyd dat ons mense in armoede is. En dit is so moeilik finansiëel vir daai arme mense om dit self te kan doen om daar te kom. Ons vra as die PA dat die George munisipaliteit moet hulp gee. Dis 'n kwessie vir ons oor die grond issue. Waar mense net grond soek om te bly en dan maar na hofinterdikte gekry word teen ons arme mense. En ek dink dis tyd dat dit op die tafel gelê word dat ons mense die grondkwessie moet aangespreek word vir ons arme mense in ons gemeenskappe. Ons mense moet ons grond terugkry. En dan ook die PA versoek dat die George munisipaliteit onmiddellik begin met werksprojekte daar in die met behuisingprojekte, verskoon my behuisingprojekte daar in die Wilderness hoogte, omdat ons gemeenskap suffer nou al reeds vir jare om nie behuising geleenthede daar te kry nie. So dit is ons versoek van die PA.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Ms. Apulis, please go ahead.
Thank you, Speaker. The PA asks that the George municipality starts taking responsibility with regards to the communities and the people that have to break off their structures. Those are structures that they built off with their own power or own strength, considering the economy and the conditions of people that are living in. Now they have to break off those structures. About the land is an issue that needs to be addressed because, as the previous speakers have said, people stay there because they are in need of land, they are in need of a place to stay. So as the PA, we ask that the George municipality starts with or begin with the housing projects in Wilderness Heights so that some of these issues can be resolved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Apulis. I take it that was in order. I did receive a counter proposal from Councillor Nkamile. The counter proposal was seconded by Councillor Peterson. I'm going to read the counter proposal into the record as it is in the chat box. We as EFF would like to put the counter proposal with regard to the conditions that are put by Councillor Suffers. We propose that all the people who were unfairly evicted be prioritized as they are all written on various lists by the municipality lawyers. That is the counter proposal. What we are going to do now is we are going to go over to Councillor Luose. So we're going to see if he seconds the original proposer by Councillor Suffers, and then we will go on to the voting. Thank you very much, Councillor Luose. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Speaker, for the opportunity. Speaker, we only have to help the first 14 who went to court. The other 51 households are not part of the court process. So, Speaker, we are moving and we are getting things done. So, Speaker, I would like to propose. I would like to second the proposal made by Councillor Jean Cypher. I thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor. We therefore now have two proposals on the table. We're going to go over to voting. Rosemary, will you please handle the voting for us? It's just very important to note that we are first going to vote for the counter proposal. So if you are voting, you vote for or against the counter proposal. So if you are voting for the proposer from the EFF, you're going to say, I vote for. And if you're going to vote against the proposal of the EFF, you're going to say, I vote against. I see there is a hand up from our Chief Whip. Chief Whip, please go ahead.
Speaker, just to assist you quickly, you read in the counter proposal, you have read in the first bit, but I see that Councillor Nkamile added a second part, which was duly seconded by Councillor Peterson, and I would just like to suggest that you read in both for the record purpose before you go over to voting.
Thank you, Chief Whip, for that assistance. I see there's the second part. The second part of the EFF's proposal is adding to that all the officials who take the decision for the eviction by the red ants whom are costing municipalities 1 million and above all must be held accountable for wasteful expenditure. So that is the amendment to the counter proposal. Thank you for that, Councillor. We will then move over to voting. Rosemary, will you please go ahead?
Councillor Adams.
Against the counter proposal.
Councillor Alexander.
Can you hear me? I'm for it.
Councillor America.
Against.
Councillor Barnard.
I'm against the counter proposal.
Councillor Brown.
Against the proposal.
Councillor Busak.
For.
Councillor Carolus.
For.
Councillor Clark.
Against.
Councillor Kuris.
For.
Councillor Cronje.
Against.
Councillor Dutoit. Councillor Dutoit. Councillor Esau. Councillor Edie Fichland.
Against.
Councillor R.G. Fichland.
Against the counter proposal.
Councillor Fry.
Against the EFF.
Councillor Gom.
For the proposal to the EFF.
Councillor Greef.
For Rosemary.
Councillor Gultik.
Against the counter proposal.
Councillor Hani.
For the proposal.
Councillor Jantjies.
Against.
Councillor Jay.
Against.
Councillor Johnson.
Against.
Councillor Kleinhans.
Against.
Alderman Kritzinger.
Against.
Councillor Kruger.
Against. Thank you.
Councillor Lentu.
For.
Councillor Losey.
Against.
Councillor Lau.
Sorry, for.
Councillor Mankele. Councillor Mbete.
Against Marose.
Sorry, Marose, why can't you repeat to the opposition? Because to the DA you repeat several times.
Councillor Mankele.
For.
Councillor Itim Daka.
For the justice of the people.
Councillor
That is for.
Murkuli.
For the proposal.
Councillor Nakamile.
For Marose.
Councillor Nietlen.
Against.
Councillor Niaus.
Against.
Councillor Ntodini.
For.
Councillor Peterson.
Always for.
Councillor Philander.
For.
Councillor Katana.
Against.
Councillor Kampi.
Oh.
Councillor Rosa.
Against Marose.
Councillor Cyphers.
Against.
Councillor Summers.
Against.
Councillor Smart.
For.
Councillor Standard.
Against.
Councillor Toto.
I am for.
Alderman van Niekerk.
Against.
Alderman van Wyk.
Against.
Councillor von Brandes.
Against, thank you, Rosemary.
Councillor R. Foster.
For.
Councillor S. Foster.
I am for.
Councillor Wessels.
Against.
Councillor Bindwai.
Against.
Thank you, Rosemary. Will you just tally the
Rosemary,
votes?
Speaker, sorry, Councillor Letoy against.
Okay, so noted. Rosemary,
Yes.
can you please just tally the votes for us and just give
Speaker,
us
Councillor Letoy vote can't be counted in.
Speaker, that is wrong, Speaker. Speaker, that is wrong.
I'm not counting the votes, councillors. That is Rosemary that's doing the voting count, so she will take anything into consideration.
So she
Yeah,
must
you
not
can't
count it.
towards voting.
May I proceed, Speaker?
Please go ahead, Rosemary.
I've counted those in favour, 21, those not in favour, 30. And then I did not count in Councillor Du Toit. You must decide because it was after you indicated that I must tell. So it's for you to decide, Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rosemary. I think that's the easy one. If he came late, the vote doesn't count, so we can move on with your counting as corrected. The original proposal then stands from Councillor Schaffers, and then the report carries. We then go over to the next item, 4.5, in principle approval for the leasing of the Pakkelsdorp Tourism Building situated in Mission Street for the establishment of a information and communication technology ICT Township Hub. I was the original speaker on this item, but Councillor Roelse will go ahead and has 3 minutes for this. Councillor Roelse, please go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Speaker. Good afternoon, everybody. This item seeks for Council to consider an application for the approval of the leasing of Pakkelsdorp Tourism Building for the establishment of an iHub. The business plan received is included as Annexure A in the agenda. The iHub offers services like business advice, mentorship and support to SMMEs that is needed within our community. Although this is important, a greater need for our elderly and most vulnerable is also to bring other government services closer to our people. Hence the need for a Tusang Centre where services like SASSA be brought closer to our people is more pertinent. So they don't have to go and stand in town in long queues, but the establishment of the Tusang Centre, rather at the tourism centre, would bring these services closer at home. This has been discussed at the S80 committee, also at a meeting with all the councillors of Pakkelsdorp who have shared the sentiment, as well as at MICO level. According to the recommendations on page 215 and 216, it is thus recommended that the request for the establishment of the iHub at the tourism centre does not be granted in principle, but rather the building next to the Pakkelsdorp library be offered for the iHub, and the tourism centre then be made available for the establishment of the Tusang Centre. I further propose that the Director, Corporate Services be granted authorization to proceed with the process of leasing the tourism centre as a Tusang Centre, and the Director, Human Settlement Planning and Development proceed with the leasing of the building next to the Pakkelsdorp Library for the establishment of the iHub. I so propose. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Councillor Roelse. We then go over to the ANC. Councillor Toto, you've got 1 minute. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you to my colleague that have ushered the item into council. We as the ANC don't have much problem. We support the initiative. However, we want to raise concerns, Speaker. One of our concerns is the fact that the space that is alternatively offered to the iHub, it's questionable in terms of size and the activities. Number two, we want to raise concerns, Speaker, around the initial idea of having these buildings. Yes, Tusong centers are a wonderful initiative. They come from our own government. However, we still feel that the initial reason for this building was tourism, as our area is one of the richest areas in tourism, particularly the area of Pacaltsdorp. It has got an immense history, and if we don't ignite this tourism in our different areas, it's going to make our kids to lose our history, and we fail to inform and attract other people. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Toto. Your time is up. Thank you for that input you just given. We now move over to the PBI. Councillor Carolus, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Speaker. Speaker, the PBI supports the recommendation that the lease request by Nelson Mandela IHUB not be granted. We also support the idea that the building will be used as a toegang center. Ons is egter bekommerd oor die min tot geen publieke deelname aan die soort besluite of hierdie soort voorstelle. Ons besigheidskamers, byvoorbeeld die Pacaltsdorp Business Center en ander gemeenskapsorganisasies, entrepreneurs word nooit geken in die soort beplanning nie. Ons is ook geïnteresseerd en nuuskierig om te verneem na enige steeds suksesstories van die IHUB ten Beleto. Ons hoor selde van enige gebeure of programme waaraan mense deelneem. Dankie, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Councillor Carolus. Ms. Paulus.
Thank you, Speaker. However, we are worried about the public participation process that did not take part because our people were not included, namely the Pacaltsdorp business chambers and other entrepreneurs and business people that are not included in such decision making. And we hear about the IHUB in Thembalethu about the way they do things. Therefore, Speaker, that is it.
Thank you very much, Ms. Apolis. Councillor Carolus, are you happy? Can we, is there a paragraph missing?
Yeah, Speaker, I'm happy.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Truly appreciate. We now move over to good. Councillor Low, you've got half a minute. Please go ahead.
Dankie, Speaker. Speaker, as goed is ons bly dat daar vandag 'n besluit geneem gaan word in opsigte van die wit olifant om Pacaltsdorp Toerisme Sentrum. Die George munisipaliteit het die inwoners van Pacaltsdorp gevra om Pacaltsdorp te bemark as toerisme bestemming. Hierdie houding en spesifiek van toerisme afdeling het ekonomiese groei en werkskepping daaronder gelei. Pacaltsdorp met sy ryke geskiedenis van meer as 200 jaar is van 'n goeie geleentheid ontneem om as ou sendingstasie bemark te word. Dit kon in 'n museum omskep geword het as 'n opvoedkundige instelling. Maar ons hoop as goed dat hierdie ICT hub 'n verskil sal maak.
Thank you, Councillor Low. Unfortunately, your time has expired. Ms. Apolis, please go ahead.
Thank you, Speaker. As good, yes, we are glad about the decision that has been taken with regards to the Pacaltsdorp Tourism Center, because in George, Pacaltsdorp marks as the tourism place, or it attracts tourists because of the history that it has on its own as the Pacaltsdorp location. It could have been made something else, maybe a museum, something that will be historical for the future. But however, we do hope that the IHUB, as we hear, will make a great difference as well in the community as much anticipated. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Apoulis. Councillor Lau, are you happy? Can we go ahead?
Speaker, ek sal dit laat gaan nou, maar regtig waar. Ons die Afrikaans moet regtig waar translate word in Engels. Want soos dit nou getranslate word, is nie baie goed nie. Nie een van ons Afrikaans word goed getranslate nie. En ons is ook geregtig op om in ons moedertaal te praat. Baie dankie, maar ek kan dit maar laat gaan.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lau. I will definitely bring this under the attention of our speaker, Councillor Sean Simon. We then move over to the PA, Councillor Alexander. Please go ahead. You've got 1 minute.
Speaker, ek gaan Councillor Foster se rekenaar gebruik, my een het probleme. Eerstens, ek is bly, ek was saamstem met my collega voorheen. Ek dink ons nie geboelie word met ons taal Afrikaans, want ek dink nooit die PA geleentheid te gee om te vra of ons happy is met die vertaling. So ons ek luister vir u skiep ons, boelie ons. Ons nie boelie nie. So wat ek ook wil net by eet, ja, ons as die PA, ons ondersteun die idee vir die IHAP. En ons dink ja, dis tyd ook vir Pakkersdorp, omdat Pakkersdorp een van die grootste kleerling of minder bevoorde areas is wat heeltyd nie aangekyk word nie. En ek dink dit kan net goed wees vir ons jong mense, die history van ons Khoisan gemeenskap, en ek dink dis iets positief en die PA support dit. Ons hoop net dat ons local gemeenskap en local businessmense gaan bevoordeel word en gaan benefit daaruit. En dit is al van my kant af. Dankie.
Thank you very much, Councillor Alexander. It's not my intention to bully you. Ms. Apoulis, will you please translate?
Thank you, Speaker. The PA, I don't know, Speaker, whether I should say the first part about you not giving them opportunity.
You're more than welcome.
But you support the idea of the IHAP that will be in Pakkersdorp, because Pakkersdorp is one of the biggest from the previous disadvantaged areas. So we do have a great history so that our children or our future can be able, or youth can be able to know the history of Pakkersdorp. But we do hope that local businesses and entrepreneurs will actually be helped and benefit from this project as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Apoulis. Councillor Alexander, are you happy? Can we move ahead?
Ek is baie tevrede, Speaker. Dankie.
Thank you very much for that answer. We will then move over to the last person that will second this item. I do see there's a hand from Councillor Wessels. I do not see anything in the chat box. So, Councillor Barnard, please go ahead.
Please, the deputy. Chairperson, I just want to check before I go on. Is Councillor Wessels' hand raised as MMC? Because I know the MMCs are entitled to add something at before it's seconded.
I am unsure. I do not see anything in the chat box. Councillor Wessels? I see his hand is not
yes,
up here.
Chair, Economic Development and Tourism, as far as I know, resides under me. And I just want to give some clarity with regards to some of the statements made. The rich history in Pakkersdorp is something that the coalition embraced to the fullest. That could have been seen with a Dine with the Locals program, the rejuvenation of the amphitheatre within in the city centre. That can be seen with the relationship that has been built with the Pakkersdorp Business Chamber specifically over the last couple of years. The SMME hub that's coming next door to this facility, together with developments that's taking place around the SMME hub, is in actual fact designed in such way to create opportunity and to embrace more of the rich history within Pacalsdorp. So I would just like to put that on record. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Barnard, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, I'd just like to congratulate my colleague, Councillor Melvin Roelofse, for carrying in a very good item. All that remains for me is to second the recommendation as contained on page 215 and 216 from A through up to and including E. I therefore second Councillor Melvin Roelofse's proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barnard. The report thereby carries. We move over to 4.6, in principle, approval for the leasing of the Thembalethu Tourism Building for the establishment of an informal and communication technology ICT Township Hub. There's 2 minutes for the coalition. I was the speaker on this item, but I do know Councillor Barnard will take this 2 minutes. Please go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, as we know that this hub has been operating since 2019. It has been operating as the Nelson Mandela iHub in Jericho Street, Thembalethu. And in one of the items, somebody actually asked what they have been doing. And if we look at page 253, we will note that the iHub offers considerable services like business advice and mentorship, business management tools, training programs, co-working space, and internet connectivity. Chair, the iHub has served the residents of Thembalethu well since its inception, and the item that serves before you is simply to consider the extension and utilization of the Thembalethu Tourism Centre building, which is situated on earth number 9720 in Chalora, and that is going to be for this iHub, which is already there, simply to continue doing the great work that they have been doing. We will note that our legal department has given comments in the item on page 255, and everything is hunky-dory and above board. And therefore, I would like to recommend that as contained on page 256, from point number A, right the way, all the way through to point number H on page 258, that we resolve as recommended that the application to extend the lease for the Nelson Mandela iHub be approved. I so propose. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Barnard. We then move over to the next speaker on the list from the ANC, Councillor Toto. You've got 1 minute. Please go ahead.
Hunky-dory, speaker. We hunky-dory, so...
Are you teasing me, Councillor?
We accept the recommendations as is. In fact, we support them. We do know the history of the iHub. However, we are serious about this thing of ignition of the Casitors. We hope that before the end of their lease, that at least our tourism department would have done something or is going to be doing something in making sure that we coexist with the iHub in the next term in terms of tourism and other things. Thank you. Hunky-dory.
Thank you, Councillor Toto. I like your hunky-dory there. We move over to the next councillor on the list from the EFF, Councillor Kampi. Please go ahead. You've got a half a minute.
Thank you, Speaker. We also don't have much to say, but I support my colleague, what just said. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kampi. The last speaker on the list, Councillor Katana, with 2 minutes. Please go ahead.
Greetings, everyone. Greetings, Speaker. Speaker, before I second my colleague, I'd like to say this to the public, or maybe make them aware of it, and the entire council. Our hub is a business incubator. They assist small businesses to advertise and manage their businesses. Those businesses have access to free internet, free access to venue to hold their meetings and their clients. Each entrepreneur is given access to laptops printing of their documents. This will assist our people, Speaker, in managing their businesses. And also, Speaker, they haven't only been helping only Tembaletu people, mostly Park Dean and Pakastop and so on. I second the recommendation made by Councillor Bana. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Katana. The report then carries. We go over to point 4.7. I did see there is Councillor Philander has put into the chat box that he wants a caucus to take part. Please just note from our Chief Whip, every party will receive a 1-minute talking time for this item. Can I ask Councillor Philander, how much caucus time do you want? And just be noteful that you only can get a maximum of 30 minutes. Councillor Philander?
Speaker, 10 minutes will do.
Thank you, Councillor. You are granted the 10 minutes. We will give you time to go caucus now. We will then adjourn for 10 minutes. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Betul. Gila. Ja, ja, die ketel van baie, I didn't answer dan kan je niet zo bij.
Uphinde mfana ndive
Elke. Pada yung trends wat 2-3 net.
Nyangola.
Kan nie ada kila afslaan nie. Want dit vat baie in hier.
Thank you very much. The 10 minutes is up. Councillor Philander, are you back?
Yes, thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much. As I stated, everybody is allowed 1 minute on this item from each party. Just to ensure that all the councillors are back and everybody just indicate their presence in the chat box. We will then go over to the item 4.7, the late item, extension of appointment as acting director-elect, Mr. De Greef. The first speaker from the coalition is Councillor Mbete. You've got 2 minutes. Please go ahead. Councillor Mbete, you've got 2 minutes. Please go ahead. I see Councillor Mbete has some technical difficulties. Executive Mayor Alderman Leon van Wyk, please go ahead.
Thank you, Speaker. I'll pick up for Councillor Mbete. This item relates to the acting director position within the electrotechnical directorship. As council will be aware, we have been attempting to recruit a new director for electrotechnical services, and we've now come to the end of the second 3-month term of acting directorship. In this case, it's been held by Mr. Dani Greef, and we accordingly coming to council now to approve the extension of his appointment for another 3 months from 1 March for a period not exceeding 3 months, in fact. And at the same time, we need to be writing to the MEC for local government for his approval of the extension for Mr. Greef to act further in this position. I think what council should be aware of is the extreme difficulty we have in recruiting an NQF8 qualified electrotechnical director with the necessary experience, qualifications, and ability to run a department of this size, including the complexities of renewable energy and the pay scales that we are limited to within local government when compared to the more lucrative remuneration that is offered in the private sector. So accordingly propose the recommendation that we have before us. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Alderman van Wyk. We then move over to the next party, the ANC. You've got 1 minute. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Speaker. Before I go in, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think Mr. have seen this item is too big for her. Sorry for her with the technical problems. As the ANC, we don't approve this because we've sent this thing for the first time, we sent this thing for the second time, now it's a third time. Now we must go and re-advertise this thing, this vacancy. For us, it's more like it's a wasteful expenditure. And also, ever since Mr. Greef has been appointed as an electrotechnical director, we've been on a load shedding almost for days. Nothing come right. We are from bad to worse. Even the portfolio chairperson of the electrotechnical, we don't see any work for her on this department because they have shown us that they are incompetent for this position. So as the ANC, we are saying no for the extension of the director. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Councillor. We then move over to the next party, the PBI. PBI, please go ahead.
Speaker, die PBI is niet een gunste van die verlenging van die contract nie.
maar die vraag is eintlik deur u, kan daar aan die raad verduidelik word, wat is die koste van wie, wat is die koste, en dan wie se government ticket word heidelik gebruik by George munisipaliteit, en daar was 2 kandidate wat aansoek gedoen, wat wel gekwalifiseer het, wat afgeskiet was. Speaker, kan u vir my asseblief sê wie se government ticket en wat is die kostes en wie se nou ons gebruik maak op die huidige oomblik?
Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Speaker. Ms. Apollo,
The
please go ahead.
PBI is not in favor of this item because there are lots of cost implications that are involved here, and they want to know whose government ticket now is being used, because previously there were 2 candidates who applied in this position, but it was again re-advertised after those 2 candidates applied. So the PBI just want to know that.
Thank you very much for the translation. The item is about the acting and not filling the post. Councillor, if you've got any questions, you're most welcome to give them in writing to the administration. We go to the Good Party. You've got 1 minute. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, this item is on the agenda for the 4th time. We as Good previously indicated that from the opinion that we are wasting money because of this. Is the 3rd time we advertise for a competent candidate, and yet we had a candidate that was best and worked for the council previously and did an exceptional job. The councils must really take into consideration the cost implications are piling up and we are wasting public funds. An appointment has been made. Now we need to extend the position as acting director for a further 3 months. Again, wasteful expenditure. Can the MM give us an indication what the cost implications are? I heard the mayor said that they didn't get a suitable person, but in the first instance, with the first interviews, we had an exceptional person called Mr. Roda.
Thank you very much, Councillor Low. Your time has come to an end. We're moving on to the next speaker on the list from the EFF. I do note that you had several questions. I hope it will be answered by the last speaker. Otherwise, please put it in writing and it will be answered at the earliest convenience. We move over to the EFF. You've got 1 minute. Please go ahead. Councillor Kampi, Councillor Nkamile, do you want to take your 1 minute?
Thank you, Speaker. We as EFF, we don't support the item as per previous council meeting. We have stated very clear in terms of wasteful expenditure regarding this. It have been coming for a while. I don't know which suitable candidate does this municipality want exactly. So we are totally against it, and we are also we will also like to know, as so far, how did it cost our municipality this re-advertisement and this extension of acting director?
Thank you very much, Councillor, for your input. The last party to speak here is the PA. You've got 1 minute. Please go ahead.
Baie dankie, Speaker. Ons as die PA, ons is nie ten gunste van die verlenging van extra 3 maande nie. Ek dink dit is 'n waste van taxpayers geld, en ek dink dit is derde keer dat dit nou al op die agenda is, en ek glo nie dat daar niemand is in George of in die Western Cape, ons het reeds previous persone gehad, hoekom iemand taxpayers geld mos en nie iemand aanstel nie. So ons is ten gunste daarvan. Ek dink die council, die huidige raad speel vir tyd om die boet miskien hulle maatjies aan te stel. Ek dink dis een van die redes. So ek dink net hulle moet vir ons antwoord gee vir ons gemeenskap. Hulle moet vir ons antwoord gee hoekom die delay rondom hierdie aanstelling. Baie dankie.
Thank you, Councillor Alexander.
Thank you,
Ms. Apollos.
The PA is not in favor of the extension of the contract because the PA feels that it is a waste of the taxpayers' money. To think of it is about the third time that this matter is on the agenda, and we don't believe that there is no one in George or in the Western Cape that is a suitable candidate to fill in this position, because we've had people before. Now we believe that maybe this is a way of dragging to play puti. Maybe they've got friends or people that they want to put in this position, but we want to say we are not in favor of the extension of the contract. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Alexander.
Baie tevrede.
Are you happy?
Baie tevrede.
Thank you very much for that very good, positive confirmation. Thank you, Ms. Apollos, for that. We then go to the last speaker on the list, Councillor Barnard. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, my colleagues obviously don't quite understand that this item is a compliance item and has got nothing to do with re-advertising or filling the position. Council is in fact saving money by having Mr. Greef acting in this position because the director's post is not being filled at the moment and there's no acting allowance involved here at all. So to say we're wasting money is really not correct at all. We have to have this appointment sent to the MEC, as the Mayor said, and the MEC will then approve the extension of the 3-month acting. It is a saving of money, as is for the municipality. And we also need to remember that we're dealing with this item in an open agenda of council. And the POPIA Act actually prevents us from going into too much detail in an open agenda. I therefore propose to second the recommendation made by the Mayor that we extend the 3-month acting period for Mr. Greef. I so propose, or so second rather. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Barnard. The report then carries. We are now going to move over to the confidential part of the agenda. I'm asking for the YouTube channel to be turned off. If the YouTube channel is turned off, can IT please just confirm that it is off so that we can go ahead? Thank you. We are giving them hopefully less than 5 minutes to get this sorted out.